Welcome to the Fit Body Secrets podcast. I am Coach Cheryl, and my mission is to bring you all inspiration, education, and a ton of training tips to help you all be more successful on your fitness journey. Whether your goal is to lose body fat, build muscle, perform better, compete at your highest, or simply fix the hormonal and metabolic conditions that have held you back for years and years and years, I hope to offer you guys simple, science-based nutritional approaches that are going to help you finally see the results that you're looking for. If you get any value out of this episode or any of my episodes, please shoot me a DM, shoot me a review, let me know that you're listening, because my mission is to help you be more successful. Enjoy the episode. What is up, guys? And I am loving my new intro. Thank you so much, Scott. And what a great episode to start this on, because I am just really fired up to just break down some things that I have been working really hard over the last, almost 20 years of my life in shaping. And it's really amazing to me to kind of see everything kind of coming together, and my vision for people and what I want to show people, and hopefully to be able to change more lives in this world. And that is why today I wanted to take an episode and really just share with you guys a little bit about what I teach and what we teach at FitBody, and even giving you guys a little bit of a breakdown of why I named my company after FitBodyRX, because it all comes down to what I want everybody to get out of working with me, is that our goal is to build a very functional, fit being that we can actually enjoy the way we look, the way we feel, and the way we perform in our life, whether that is in a competitive level or if it's just trying to be the best mom, dad, brother, sister, employee, employer we can be in our life. That our fitness is a huge piece of that. And tonight, I wanted to take an opportunity to kind of break down some of the fundamentals so that you guys know what we teach in my company and what our coaches are looking to get across to you guys, and how there is really, I'm going to be honest, I don't think there is a better way or a better system of honestly fine-tuning everything about your nutrition and your life to optimize how you want to look and how you want to feel. So I even put together a very basic slideshow because it also keeps me focused, because I love talking about nutrition and I can very easily get off on tangents. And I want to make sure I stay somewhat focused here, because there's a lot of intricacies with nutrition. And I think people try and focus on just one small thing. And there are so many different details that are going to be covered today that I hope you guys will understand. So if you're a client of mine and you struggle with some things, hopefully today will bring some clarity on why I might be focusing on specific things that aren't what you're used to hearing from other coaches or other programs. And if you're not a client of mine and you're interested in what we do, I think a lot of people see the macros as the main goal or what they're going to get with a coach. And that's not always the case. So yes, macros are a piece of it, but it is a small piece of the puzzle that we have to kind of look at the other details that matter first and foremost. So welcome. And hopefully you guys will get some value out of this episode. If not, hopefully we'll just get a little bit more of an understanding of, well, hopefully I get value out of it, but if hopefully this gives you guys a little bit of an understanding of a foundation of nutrition. And I don't think that any diet out there would necessarily disagree with what I'm going to present to you guys today. So let's get the ball rolling. All right. So first things first, I'm just going to kind of go over the basics of what we're going to cover tonight. In the first column there, you see the nutrition hierarchy, nutrition basics, nutrition optimization, and lifestyle considerations. These are some things that I want you guys to think about as you're entering into the program, or you're looking at our systems, that these are the things that we want to make sure that you guys have covered from the start before you actually dive into working on a goal. So I think that a lot of people, when they reach out to us or a coach, it's like, hey, I am really miserable with how I look and I feel, and I am ready to get this weight off. Or, you know what, I really want to get the ball rolling. I want to be able to make it to semifinals next year. And it's always about like jumping in head first and wanting to go all at it. But there are some things we have to assess first and make sure we've got a really good foundation. So that first column is all of those things that we're going to be looking for before we actually roll into a fat loss phase. And I'm going to focus mostly on fat loss because I think a lot of people out there are looking to get a little bit leaner, but in a way that supports optimal health and performance. In the middle column, that is the actual, I want to call that the grind phase. That is the part where we're actually diving in. We're getting an assessment. We are looking at your goals. We're looking at what you want to achieve. We're modifying your nutrition to achieve those goals, and we're monitoring how you feel. And then in that last column there is what we want you guys to get before you leave us. We want to actually have a quote unquote graduation process in which you guys feel that you have the tools needed to not only achieve or maintain these results, but if you ever needed to or wanted to dial things in, you kind of have a little bit of an understanding of what we did and how we can actually do that without actually having to go back into a full-on coaching program. And it might just be looking at a couple of things. So that is what we teach and what we want you guys to get out of our program. And there is a ton involved in what we do. But I want you guys to know that is what we do. We keep it really, really simple for you guys. We want you guys as our clients to focus on the one or two things that we want you to focus on for that week. And I know that that can sometimes be really hard if you're an overachiever like I am. We want to do all of the things right now. We want to have all of the results today. And we want you guys to know that we want to keep it simple for you. We do all the dirty work. We are the ones that are navigating all this stuff. We spend more time. And that's why when people look at nutrition coaching, no, we are not going to be the cheapest coaches in the space. But that's also because we are also providing a full service here. We are not just setting your macros. So I will never call myself a quote unquote macro coach. So you'll never see that in my Instagram bio, Cheryl, the macro coach. Do I have macros as a component of my program? Is that the main purpose, or is that the main thing that we're going to do when we're dialing things in? Absolutely. But there are a lot of other things out there. And I like to remind people that nobody out there identifies themselves as a number, whether it's a number on the scale, whether it's a number of macros. We are not identified as a number. You guys are all people. I am a coach. You guys are my athletes, my clients, and I want you guys to get the best experience out of that. All right. So I am going to start off here by talking about the nutrition hierarchy. Ooh, Cheryl sees a typo. That's because Cheryl does her own graphical stuff. And I forgot to put an I in between the R and the T. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I will make sure that next time I actually do make sure I review that. My cat's coming to say hello, by the way. So this is kind of my nutrition hierarchy. And you probably have seen these similar in the past, other coaches, because they're all pretty much the same. I think that most good coaches out there do know what starts at the bottom. I think what might be a little bit different about mine is at the very bottom of mine, you're going to see three basic things: food quality, lifestyle, and nutritional habits. And this is the stuff that I think people tend to overlook, and they dive right into the macros and the calories and all the other things. Now, here's the deal is if you don't have a solid foundation of understanding what it looks like to eat a healthy meal, looking at your lifestyle, how much you're working out, how much you're moving throughout the day, how much you're sleeping, and understanding what good, solid nutrition habits are, then all the other stuff is going to be irrelevant, because you typically are going to end up falling back into old patterns, or you're going to find that it's too complicated. You're going to get frustrated because the foundation isn't there. And the people that have that solid foundation are the ones that get the most out of the program. So some people can skip right past this part because they've already developed that stuff. Others need to spend a little bit more time doing that. Does it mean that you can't do this while working on your goals? Absolutely not. You totally can. It just means that it has to be addressed. Okay, so next piece up there, you see calorie intake and protein intake, because these two numbers matter most for optimizing our, obviously, just making sure we're getting in enough food. Our calorie control, make sure that we are minimizing body fat gain, or also working on fat loss. And we're actually providing enough calories to support our hormones, health, metabolism, all that stuff. Protein intake is also the main number here. So for those of you guys that are looking to start somewhere with calculating things, I will always say, hey, start with calories and protein. Get enough protein, get enough calorie intake in, and you're off to a good start. Then we're looking at macronutrient balance. And this is where I think a lot of people start, because they go into dietary protocols that might cut out specific food groups or macros, or they are going right into macros and not looking at the other things. And this is third on the tier. And then we've got things like meal timing, meal frequency, and then supplementation. So this is what we're looking at when we're talking about our nutrition program. And, we always want to make sure that those people that we're working with have the solid foundation. And it's why oftentimes it can be frustrating that, I think people think that, well, I'm just going to dial in my macros. Well, why is macros not working for you? Why are you not consistent with it? Likely because the bottom piece of the puzzle has not been identified, or the problems have not been identified in the bottom piece of that puzzle. And we have to go back to basics, which is where we are going to start. Okay. So when it comes to, before we dive into what we actually do in terms of working with you guys. These are things that we're looking for in terms of red flags that we need to actually take a step back and look at what's going on. So number one, you see their food preparation and cooking. Guys, we don't offer cooking classes. I am definitely not telling you that you're going to get cooking with Coach Cheryl, because guess what? I fucking hate cooking, but I do it, right? I do it. It's part of my routine. I do meal prep. I do those things. But most people there's a lot of people, I shouldn't say most people, a lot of people out there rely entirely on convenience food, on restaurant meals, on eating out, and they don't even want to think about cooking. And when it comes to what causes weight gain the most, I'm going to hands down say it's convenience food and eating out. It has little to do with food groups. It has little to do with, bad foods and good foods. And it has a whole bunch to do with people not taking the time to cook. And I'm going to be honest, it is way too easy to make preparation for food extremely easy for us. It's why people are just getting, I was talking to Scott, the owner of Clydesdale Media, about how it's so convenient. We don't even have to go to the grocery store anymore. We can get them delivered to us. Okay. But food preparation and cooking needs to be number one, meaning we have to know what it looks like to cook in a healthy way. We shouldn't be deep frying things. We shouldn't be using a whole bunch of cooking oils and heavy sauces and things like that. We need to understand what it looks like to have a really good, solid foundation of a meal. Does it mean we can't have those things on occasion? No, it just means that our nutrition foundation is built on clean, really good, simple, clean eating. And we're looking at really good methods for cooking our foods that don't add a whole bunch of calories. Number two, building balanced meals. And number two and number three are kind of the same food portion. So we need to know what it looks like to build a balanced meal. This means we're not avoiding eating carbs. It means we have a balance on the plate. Do we maybe need to cut carbs at some point? We might. But for right now, we need to know what it looks like to have a balanced meal. Guys, I can't tell you how many people, their meals will be like, breakfast will be like a muffin and a coffee. Okay. All carbs and fats, no protein. But then lunch will be chicken and broccoli. All protein and no carbs and fats. Like, it ends up being completely all over the place. So we need to know what it looks like to build a macronutrient balanced meal without actually even looking at macros. Meaning we should be able to say, hey, protein is primarily coming from animal sources. So I've got a good solid portion of protein on my plate. I've got some veggies for some micronutrients. I've got some sort of carbs, and I know where I'm getting my fat from in my meal. We need to be able to identify those things and understanding what a good amount of those foods looks like in terms of portion from an eyeballing perspective. We're not even diving into actually calculating macros and stuff like that yet. We are just looking at what does it look like to build a foundational balanced meal. And yes, there is macronutrient balance to that meal. And I'm not even going to go down the rabbit hole of what macros and calories and all that are tonight. If you guys want that, there is an episode out there called Simplifying Nutrition, where I break down all that stuff and also breaking down BMR, TDE, and all that more detailed things about your actual specifics that you need. And then the last one on there that I put number 4 is moderating social eating and drinking. I think that a lot of people also fall into this realm of like cheat meal mentality, or, if it fits your macros or all those things. And guys, we need to understand that moderating our eating and drinking while we're socializing to amounts that are going to allow us to support enjoyment, but not excess body fat, is very, very important for you guys to maintain whatever goals you guys do achieve. All right. So if you're the kind of person that's like, I'm not going to eat this until I get to that weight, you are likely doing yourself a disservice, because we need to understand how to moderate those things while we were working on our goals. All right. Now we're diving into the next piece of this is optimization. So once we have your, basic foundation built out, I see that you're good at cooking. You understand what it looks like to eat healthy. You're pretty good at balancing your meals. Now we're diving into the more specific things. And this is where you're going to be able to get better results. So we're looking at calorie intake and macronutrient intake. This is where we are pulling out a food scale, getting a little bit more precision. And in the beginning, we're not even looking at, okay, this person's goal is fat loss or weight gain. They're trying to build muscle. We're looking at what does it look like to optimize this human being? Like in terms of, let's make sure that their hormones are in a good place. Let's make sure that their metabolism is a good place. Let's make sure they're feeling satiated with all of their meals. They're energetic. They feel good in their day. Because sometimes just by optimizing, we start to see a weight loss because we now are optimizing our body's ability to effectively perform in our day-to-day and perform not just things that we're cognitively thinking, but things that we're not thinking about. like pumping blood and digesting food and all these different things. So we're optimizing now. And this is where the key is for those of you guys out there that are looking to achieve results, is that this is the part that you guys often dive right into, which is what you should be doing. But we have to make sure that the foundation is there, because otherwise it makes this part very, very difficult. If you don't have a good understanding of what's going to build a balanced meal, you're going to be super frustrated when it comes to trying to, calculate macros and looking at optimization there. All right. Now we're looking at lifestyle considerations. So this is also looking at the human being outside of just their nutrition, but how their nutritional habits are being influenced by what's going on around them. So this is where we're looking at sleep, stress, and recovery, life stress, work stress, in terms of how many hours are you working a day? How much are you sleeping? What does your job entail in terms of stress? Are you on the go all the time? Are you, what does your day look like? Are you, chasing after 3 or 4 kids while trying to juggle, freaking fitting in a meal between, work and taking the kids to volleyball? What does your day look like? And how much are you training? So that's number 2. What does your training look like? What time of day are you training? How much sleep are you getting? Are you getting 4 hours of sleep so you can get up in the morning and hit the gym before you go to work all day? We're looking at all of these things that matter so much to us knowing how we need to address your nutrition. Number 3 is time management and time availability. So if a person is literally going from sun up to sundown, telling this person, hey, you got to start cooking every meal at home, and is not going to be the easiest thing for this person to hear. So we have to help give them strategies that make that easier for them. So we look at their lifestyle as well. And then we are looking at their social and recreational interests. So if this person is a very social person, that they go out to eat frequently throughout the week, we need to identify ways to make that work for the plan, and not just tell them, hey, we're just going to eliminate eating out right now while you are working on your goals. Does that mean that they have to make better choices while they are eating out? Probably. We're probably going to be looking at, hey, when it's not what I would like to call a party priority, we're probably going to be looking for simpler things on the menu to make it easier for you. So we always look at the lifestyle and the person as a whole. Now we're going to get into the system. So this is all before we even get rolling, right? These are the things that we're thinking about. And I don't want you guys to think this takes a whole bunch of time, right? It takes time and thought on our end, but this might be just the first assessment. And we might be able to say, yes, this person's in a good place, or no, they're pretty good, but they just have to dial in their portions. Maybe they have no idea where they're starting out with cooking. So we take a look at all of that stuff. Okay. But now let's talk about the actual system that we run with FitBodyRX. All right. So the first part of what we do is a full metabolic assessment. And what we're looking at here is, obviously we're looking at those things, right? We're looking at, okay, how many hours a day are you working? What's your sleep look like? Are you on any medications? Do you have any medical issues, any injuries? What does your training look like? How many hours a week? What type of training are you doing? Are you doing CrossFit? Are you in the Globo gym? Are you an endurance athlete? Do you have athletic goals? We're looking at gut health. I also ask questions about things like your hair, skin, and your nails. What does that look like to you? Do you have healthy hair, skin, and nails? Do you know if you have healthy skin and hair, nails? What is your sex drive like? Are you actually excited when you see your significant other? These are all things that matter to us to know what we need to do in terms of nutrition. And it's where when a person as the individual is I'm just so unhappy with how I'm feeling right now, or how I look, they don't think about all of these things, because it's just not on the top of their priority list to be thinking about these things. We are not very mindful people unless it's an emotional thing. And these things don't typically bring up emotions. It's the feelings that we have about ourselves that bring up those emotions. And then we're looking at, the outcome and the goals and the expectations. So if I've got a person that comes to me and they've got literally they're not cooking at home at all. They have little to no nutritional knowledge, and, they want to lose 20 pounds of fat. I have to give this person, and they're, working a full-time job and have kids, I have to give this person manageable steps to help create habit changes, but also getting them results. And that can often sometimes take a little bit longer versus somebody that is pretty dialed in already, and they just need a few tweaks here and there, and they're ready to just kind of get the ball rolling. And it's mostly about the accountability, the adjustments, and all that kind of stuff. But the setup is an important part of the process. Okay. I call the second part the grind, and I didn't know what else to call it, because It really is the grind. It's the boring work. It's okay. Now we understand where you're at. We've identified the problems. We know where we're starting at. Here's the work now. So now we're talking about, we've already taken the time to optimize. We did that here. Okay. But now we're going to start to tweak that optimization. We are now going to start to make adjustments to that nutrition plan to help facilitate your goals, whether that be fat loss, performance-based, or building lean muscle tissue. And this is not a one-size-fits-all approach. This is all, once again, very individualized. You know, some people, if you've never been in a fat loss phase before, can be very, very successful with just a very linear progression. They just kind of start chipping away and the weight starts dropping off. Others, it's not that simple. And we have to do a lot of calorie cycling and other methods. You know, we are not one-trick ponies. We have a lot of things up our sleeve, and we want to make sure that we're giving you guys whatever it might be that you need. And that does mean a lot of trial and error, learning what works best for you. That's why this is all an individualized thing, which is also why we monitor biofeedback. Biofeedback, if you don't really understand what that is, that's going to be things like your sleep, energy, stress, reaction to stress, hunger, cravings, all of that stuff. We want to make sure we're looking at all that stuff along with tracking progress, how your body is responding to the changes that we're making in your nutrition, and ensuring that we are getting all of those things covered. So if you're a client of mine and you're not aware of a lot of these things and you're solely looking at, hey, like, why am I not seeing results? You know, take a look at some of these things. And if you're only focusing on the macros, you might be missing the mark on some of these other things. Okay. But this is the grind, and it should be a weekly check-in. We are looking at things, we're talking. Sometimes it is looking at a lack of motivation, that suddenly a person is just having a hard time being compliant, in which case that's where we can kind of build in some diet breaks and say, hey, you know, you've been grinding away at this for like 6 months. Like, let's take a break from this and start to work on building up maintenance calories, which going into the holiday season, I do have some clients doing. It's going to make them have a much more successful holiday season. And so I want to kind of make sure that I address that as well. Okay. And then the last part of our process is a very important part of the process, and kind of what I want to really focus in on here, because I think that it's really easy for people to focus so much on the goal of weight loss. And whether you achieve the end goal or not, the final phase of working through fat loss is so important. I'm sure that a lot of you guys out there can relate to having been successful at losing weight at some point and then regaining weight. That's a very common thing that we see. And it likely comes down to the fact that a person hasn't ever been really given the opportunity to know what it looks like to maintain weight at higher calories, and knowing that that's a scary thing when you bust your ass to lose weight. And we are aware of that. We also know that in order for you to be successful long-term, we have to nail this. We have to get this under control. So there is a 3-phase process to this. So as we get to your goal weight, let's just say your goal is, you know, your goal was to lose 25 pounds. You want to get down to 135 pounds. And maybe we've got you sitting at, you know, right between like 133 and 137. Like, you've dropped to 133 maybe a couple of days, but you tend to hover on 135, 136. That is what I would like to call your weight range. You know, it's never a magic number, guys. It's always going to be a range of about 5 pounds. That is weight maintenance, that we're going to see fluctuations, but we should be able to maintain within that 5-pound range. And that is our goal with our clients. So we want to make sure we start by first phase is just establishing a new body weight set point. So obviously throughout that fat loss phase, we are making nutritional adjustments. If you are cutting calories, we are going to be obviously dropping numbers there. So in this first phase, we're not really going to be adjusting anything with the nutrition. We're going to just kind of give your body an opportunity to kind of settle. It's kind of like adapting to, this is the new norm. It gives your body an opportunity to kind of like get used to that, create homeostasis, and there will be some slight adaptation metabolically to that. From there, once you kind of establish that new norm, we are now going to do what's called a reverse diet. And if you follow me on Instagram, I did make a post about reverse dieting today. We're looking to maintain structure here with your nutrition, but we are also looking at bringing caloric intake up. People tend to take this part of things not as seriously as they do their fat loss. And it is more important to be serious about this part just as much as it is about the fat loss part, because the more accurate you are here, the better your results are going to be. The more dialed in your macros are here, the more we can optimize things here. And this is where you guys can really see improvements in your energy levels, your your muscle tonality, like how you look, how you're performing in the gym, and all those types of things. So we want to maintain that structure, but we also want to make sure that we're getting those extra calories in. And then the last phase of the maintenance phase is moving into maintenance and integrating into desired level of structure and accountability. So this is now, all right, we've got your caloric intake to where you are satiated, you feel good, you have enough food to where you can be more social, you are actually living a more flexible life now. And now we can kind of look at, okay, what does maintenance look like to you? Are you somebody that likes the structure of keeping tabs of your food in a food journal? Do you like using MyFitnessPal, or do you want to integrate into more of an intuitive eating style of things? Do you want to maybe be a tracker only on the weekends just to kind of keep calories in check when your expenses are maybe a little bit more than your normal week? So I know a lot of people on the weekends will tend to eat out a little bit, and that might be where they're just double checking what they're taking in and ensuring that they're getting in not too much, specifically from dietary fats. So we're looking at that. We're looking at that level of structure and that accountability that they need to keep them going long term. So that is the final phase of our program. And the goal here is that when a person leaves us, they should feel really, really good about what they're doing, that they shouldn't want to go backwards. It should actually be scary to them to kind of revert back. And it's also important for you guys to recognize that the longer you do this, the easier it's going to be to maintain. The people that only do it for a short period of time typically don't tend to last long term with those results. And we want to make sure that we are giving you guys the opportunity to continue on to feel really good. And even if that means you haven't quite hit the goal yet, maybe you've decided that you're going to go into a 6-month, I'm going to try and cut some weight and then I'm going to take a break. That's okay, because if we did this the right way, metabolically, you'll be at a good place to where, take 3 to 4 months off and then you maintain your weight 20 to 25 pounds less, and then you can start another cycle again. So that is the really cool thing about our system, is that it's not something that's going to break you guys. It's not something that's going to eliminate your ability to be flexible with your families, with your nutrition. It just requires you to be more diligent and dialed in on specific things to ensure that you are getting the most out of it. And that's kind of the whole process. Now, the one slide that I didn't make, and I wish I had as I'm just thinking about this, is that a very important piece of maintenance when you guys are moving out of the structure of having a coach that's guiding you through things is understand the importance of self-monitorization. So how are we monitoring that we are maintaining the habits and the structure without the habits and the structure, right? So if you are no longer tracking food in MyFitnessPal, if you no longer have a coach to check in with, there are some specific things that we want to make sure you guys are doing to ensure that you are staying on track and on point, especially if you have shifted into intuitive eating, which I could go on a whole tangent about how intuitive eating is kind of bullshit. But one thing is that a lot of people have a lot of scale phobia. And one of the pieces of our program is we do have you guys weigh yourselves. And it's not because we think that the scale is so important in terms of self-worth. It's not, oh my God, the scale's down, which obviously we get excited for you, but it's because it is a way to monitor changes in your body weight and associate that with your nutrition. So we know that the weight is going to fluctuate sometimes. We track trends, and that's what we encourage all of our clients to look at. It's not looking at, you're up 2 pounds today, you're down a pound tomorrow. It's, okay, what was your weekly average for the last 7 days? And how did that compare to the 7 days before? And if you're no longer tracking your food, you're no longer keeping in touch with the coach, that self-monitorization with a scale is going to be really helpful for you, especially if you are no longer using a food scale, you're no longer using MyFitnessPal. It allows you to kind of see, hey, maybe I need to dial things back in a little bit more. And that's where you can kind of catch yourself. And so I do believe that we should all have a healthy relationship with the scale, myself included, that we need to understand that it's just a data point, and that it's allowing us to kind of keep control over things. But there are also other things we can look at. Obviously, how our clothes fit, photos in the mirror, maybe taking a weekly photo of yourself. But more importantly, going back to the grind phase is looking at feedback. If you're all of a sudden like having a hard time sleeping at night, or you're noticing your digestion is off, or maybe you're just not feeling as alert as you were, taking a look at, that's where you might want to pull back out MyFitnessPal and say, hey, like, let me just check what I'm eating right now and see how things are looking. And maybe you realize that you have been under eating carbohydrates because you weren't focusing on it. That's common. So we want to take a look at those things as well. So monitoring how you're feeling throughout the day is another way for you guys to check in on yourselves. So that is our program. Going back from kind of recap things a little bit here is starting from the beginning, going through our nutrition hierarchy, okay, making sure that you have a solid foundation of nutrition habits and I could dive into more things here like the random snacking, yada, yada, yada. But we're looking at really dialing in food quality, nutritional habits in terms of meal structure, and obviously lifestyle. So how our lifestyle plays a role into what we're eating. Calorie intake and protein intake, making sure we're getting those things covered. Then we're dialing in our macronutrient balance, meal timing and frequency, and then looking at any kind of supplementation that we can be doing to help cover the gaps. So that's our nutrition hierarchy. Going into our nutrition basics, the preliminaries to being successful with achieving the goals you want for yourself is that we should have a solid foundation of meal preparation, tips, tricks, and obviously how to, the how-tos, understanding what it looks like to build a balanced meal and food portions, and then looking at how we eat socially, taking out that cheat meal mindset and realizing that all foods are part of the plan as long as we build them in ways that are moderate. And I really should put on here too is also looking at like your relationship with food. I think that that's an important one because a lot of people, because of so much chronic dieting, we might have to spend a little bit more time getting a person comfortable with specific foods. So optimization, we're looking at caloric intake, we're looking at macronutrients, and we're optimizing that human being to look and feel their best. And then we're looking at their lifestyle to consider anything that could be affecting their nutritional habits and their results. And then going into our system, once again, we start off with that assessment, taking a look at you as a whole human being, not just your weight, not just what you're eating, but looking at how all the other things might be influencing those decisions, from hormones to metabolic health to just your current situation in terms of your lifestyle. And then we're setting up some goals and expectations from you and from us. And then we're going into the grind work where we're really dialing things in. We're pulling calories away. We're bringing calories back in. We're getting you feeling and looking your best. And then taking you into how to maintain by reestablishing that set point, building into a reverse diet, and then learning to graduate into intuitive eating and or maintenance phase. That is our system complete. Now, here's the deal. As I mentioned in the beginning, what you guys do is simple. But simple is not always easy because at the end of the day, it does take hard work to change things that we're used to doing. And I've mentioned this a lot, that we all often think that we're looking for the perfect time to start. But what we're really looking for is convenience and comfort. And that sometimes when we're looking at changing these things, they can feel overwhelming. And that's why we try and have people focus on just one or two things each week and not be in a rush. This way, if they feel good, we'd rather add on than them feeling like they're having a hard time and then we're having to pull things back. So we want you guys to really understand that what we want you to do is focus on the pieces that matter most and let us troubleshoot all the things. Let us coach you. Let us be the mind behind the whole madness, and that you're just kind of plugging along and trusting the process. And that's why we spend a lot of time educating and really trying to empower you guys to learn more about what we do, rather than just telling you just eat this or just don't eat this. So, that's our system. And I wanted to take some time to break it down because I thought that it would help a lot of you guys out there understand. And whether you use our system or not, I think that this is all relevant to anybody out there to take a look at and see, hey, I bet I would get more success if I just looked at the way I'm preparing my food, or even if I just started cooking more at home, or if I made better choices when I am eating out. We can kind of use this and kind of troubleshoot some things that might be holding you guys back. So hopefully you got some value out of this episode. I was super happy to do it today. Thank you so much. If you guys have any questions about our system, working with us, especially as we are entering into the end of the year, we are doing believe it or not, this is our, what I would like to call our Black Friday special. We are doing, if you sign up for coaching with us for 6 months, you get the rest of the year for free. And that is going to be our holiday gift to you guys. We are also going to be doing, just some holiday community building stuff. I'm not calling it a holiday challenge, but because I don't believe it's going to be a challenge, it's more so going to be a place for you guys to connect with other like-minded individuals, because we know that it's really hard when you guys do have goals and nobody else around you is doing the same thing, to feel like you have the support that you need. And we want to be able to offer that this holiday season. So stay tuned for that. If you're not already in my Facebook group, jump in on there. But if you guys have any more questions about what we do, you want to find out about, more about working with us, shoot me a message. I'll make sure that you have the link to my Clarity Call application in the show notes. And that's pretty much it, guys. Have a great week, and I will talk to you all next week.